Well, these are the two I'd gotten up at the Messina train show, and I got them for what I thought was an exceptionally good deal. Of course, the brass Williams I got was an exceptionally bad deal in retrospect, but we're still working on that. And what I found was this was effectively a powered unit that had been gutted, so I can run it like a dummy, I guess. So my first thought was, well, geez, let me just get the card and the motors and build myself another powered unit right there. And so on going online, they were pretty hard to find. And I began to come up with schemes to retro motors from different brands, which we're still in process on. But while I was doing that, I was looking for U25s made by Weaver, the Weaver models. This one popped up from Trainz. And without giving you the final price, it was less than if I bought the motors and the card. So I bought it, right? And I was thinking, I just take that shell because it's supposed to be a custom shell and put the Lehigh Valley on it. And now I have two powered Lehigh Valley U25s. Well, after I had gone through the purchase process and it was on its way, I discovered that Lehigh Valley never had U25s. What they had in the U-boat series were, of that time period, U23s, which were actually a later version of that U-boat thing. U25s had a V16, and the U23s had a later but lower horsepower V12. Weeds. I'm getting in the weeds. But they look pretty much the same, so I'm not going to go through gymnastics to try to correct that, because this is an 027 based or semi-scale based toy train layout, so the details like that don't matter. And so now I got three of these things, and they run good, and their scale works for me. So they run good. They have decent sound. I kind of like their horns. At first I thought it sounded like a steam locomotive, but in retrospect it doesn't. They sound pretty good. For what I want to do, they're fine, is the point. And they're scaled, I don't know if you consider them a true O scale. They look a little smaller. They kind of fit that semi-scale Lionel pattern, and my Lionel cars look good behind them. So this really is a win for me in my layout. So I decided to leave it alone. I'll go on my quest for motors and cards to turn that into a powered maybe, or just let it be a dummy, because really these things have got enough power. I don't need to have another one unless I want to have a Lehigh Valley on top and one on the bottom. You know, all that esoteric logic and stuff like that. But you know, it brings up another topic, because I saw on one of the groups that I participate some critique on Trainz. And this kind of brings me back to the chainsaw thing. You know, the chainsaw collector guys are like hyper into detail. Everything has to be, correct. The decals, the this and that, they go nuts. It's a mindset. And it seems to me like that's pretty prevalent in the model railroad community as well. Stable prices, predictable, detail-oriented. Don't have a digit wrong in the number for the locomotive, or somehow it's not, good enough. And of course, I'm not that way at all. I'm esoteric as hell. And one of the reasons I like Trainz is because they appear to be kind of like a margin type business, where you can have 5 of these U25s. They can all have a different price based on what they acquired them for at some estate sale or something like that. It's not like there's going to be a price point for U25Bs from Weaver. They probably take them in, look at them, grade them, and if they look a little nicer, the price goes up. If they don't look good, the price goes down. If they've been sitting on the shelf a little bit, you might get a deal. If their price was low enough on the entry side, the margin's good enough, it might be down as well. So there really is not a predictable price point. But that's the beauty for a person like me, because you just sort of wait. Things go floating by, and all of a sudden there's a deal. You grab it. I did see on these a variety of different prices, right? But that one came up at the right price, so I snatched it. Simple as that. The other ones, maybe somebody else will get them and spend another $50 and be happy. I don't need any more locomotives. It's not like that's something I really need. So a place like Trainz is a perfect place for me to sort of hang out. And the other thing I like about the Trainz people is, yeah, they may be off here and there once in a while, but for the most part, on the things that I've been looking at, the price points are at the norm or below the norm on eBay as compared to most of the other places where that's not the case. There's another place that I've been, looking at that's similar to Trainz in pricing. And yeah, every once in a while, they shoot a little high. Sometimes they shoot a little low, but on average, they're a very good place. And they have old parts. But for me, that's perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for in an online store, is a little bit of variety, the parts, the floating price points where you sort of snatch them when they're in a good spot and let them go when they're not. So I'm a fan. If you haven't been able to tell from my videos, I'm an absolute Trainz fan. When we don't have estate auctions to go to or shows, things like that appear. I'm very, very pleased with the purchase. And its description was perfect. The price point was better than I expected. And now, the downside is I'm still going to have to go find motors in a car to make that a powered one, at some point in time. But now I got one of those darn things in Pennsylvania that matches all my Pennsylvania Northeast branded cars. So thank you, Trainz. And I kind of get it, and I appreciate it. Back to these. I like these. Let me see if I can get you some sound. Isn't that cool? So I'm very, very, very pleased with that. I like the way it sounds. I like the scale. I like the price point. And I know Weaver probably no longer exists, but who cares? A lot of the parts are eBay accessible or places like Trainz. And I appreciate the esoteric nature of the store. How's that? I'm not looking for a consistency. If I want consistency, you go to the Lionel factory catalog and pay their prices, because they're going to be predictable and they're going to be high, but at least they'll be predictable. This to me is, it's eBay. Yeah, I'm very pleased with these things. So what do you think? 2 vertical can motors on both of them. Die-cast trucks. Brass gears. Some level of cards, in terms of sound and stuff like that. And they obviously pull well because that dummy is very, very heavy. And then I put, I don't know, a few cars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 12 cars on that. And there's an uphill over there. Didn't even slow it down. So, and that one, I think it runs pretty good. It has what seems to me an upgraded sound card over these. I don't know if they're different years, or if I remember correctly, the person who I had bought that from was retroing different sound systems to his locomotives, and that may have been altered, but I don't know for sure. But either way, very, very, very happy with that addition to the layout, those things. And I think that's just going to stay Pennsylvania. I like those little logos. It appears to me that the U25s were introduced in this catalog right here, 1996. And then they actually were delivering them 97. But I don't see any sign of them in the 2009 catalog. So between 97 and the 2000 era, they went away. And they have a lot of the same characteristics, as a locomotive design, as MTH, Williams, the vertical cans and stuff like that. So it wouldn't surprise me if they had gone to the same well to get them manufactured. But we will see. I'll research it over time. All right, let's see what happens now. See, I was sitting right over there. I got caught in this little eddy where it actually brought me around back up and then started bringing me right back into the cove. So now we're out in the river. You can see the turbulence just up below the surface. That's upriver. And that's downriver. I think it's finally decided to take me out so I can start going downriver, just floating. Beautiful day. You see those buoys and how that thing is so bent over? That's because of the current. And that buoy, they aren't kidding. You do not want to go past that buoy. You can start seeing the roots and the rocks and all that. Look at this. Combination of wind. There's our cove. Just that quick. We're going downriver in a hurry. So this is at the South Colton end of the river. The river comes around that corner and comes flowing into here. That's towards the dam. I kicked the motor up. I'm just going to see how the current takes me down the river. I'm just darn curious. It's moving pretty good. So at the end of the day, what do I have? I have a very nice looking Williams brass Korean built locomotive, Pacific, and It runs fine, but it can't run on my layout because of the length and the way it's laid out. The cow catcher or pilot, I mean, every time there's an elevation change, it hits and sparks and shorts out. And that, along with the fact that it can't handle those tight radius corners because it actually pushes the tires right off the traction tires, goes right to the metal, loses traction. You know, it runs fine, nothing wrong with the way it runs. So I think it's phased to be a display piece for now. And in town, they're forming a club, and there'll be an O-scale layout there. And hopefully I can contribute to the point where it's a larger radius, flat layout where I can actually go down and run this thing. That would be fun, but I can't do it here. So there it is.